This is Hannibal from HannibalTV.com with a daily combat sports news update for you. I did my Wrestling Observer review earlier today if you want to check that out for more news from the world of MMA and wrestling. But the big news of the day is basically Jon Jones, who is arguably the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now, arguing with Dana White. I've been reporting on this, talking about it in my shoot interviews. Everyone basically wants to see Jon Jones go up to heavyweight and fight Francis Ngannou in a super fight. Jones apparently wants a big payday for that. Dana White's saying that Jones wants $30 million. And Jones is saying he never asked for a financial figure. Dana White is saying that Jones actually did ask for $30 million and has the text messages to prove it. Jones has admitted that he makes more than $5 million per fight right now, but believes for a super fight like Jones versus Ngannou, where he's actually going up to heavyweight to fight a guy that could be considered a very legitimate contender, he would want a bigger pay. So we'll see how this plays out. I don't see anyone at light heavyweight that would be as big of a draw for the mainstream audiences as Jones versus Ngannou would be right now, particularly since Francis's last fight ended in like 20 or 30 seconds with a very clear knockout. There's some controversy over an angle WWE did on Smackdown tonight involving Jeff Hardy, where he was arrested for an alleged hit and run. Of course, Jeff Hardy has had a lot of personal demons over the years, as well as some real arrests over the course of the past few years. So some people, including Ryan Satin, who works on the WWE backstage show, have said that it's in poor taste to do that. Who knows? But I do find it weird that Vince McMahon supposedly didn't want anyone with any type of criminal record, even very small things, working for the XFL, yet they have people like Jeff Hardy working with WWE with no problem. And I don't think there should be a problem with people working for WWE or XFL if they have criminal past issues, as long as they've paid their debts to society. I mean, Mike Tyson even was used by WWE in the past, and he had served time over a rape. So it's funny that they put like Jimmy Snuka, who was found civilly guilty of a murder, in the Hall of Fame, but for the XFL, they didn't want any criminals. Didn't help them anyways. The XFL went bankrupt. According to the Wrestling Observer, in Ric Flairs' new WWE contract, which he recently signed and tweeted out, he now owns the rights to the man. If you remember, there was a lawsuit last year where Ric Flair was suing WWE over calling Becky Lynch the man. Kevin Sullivan had told me he's close friends with Flair, and he believed when WWE sent Flair to Saudi Arabia after that lawsuit, part of the payment Flair received for Saudi Arabia, it could have been a big deal related to them, not officially, but unofficially settling the whole situation with the man name. But it looks like it's actually right in his contract now. And I'm not sure if that whole the man thing really even helped Becky Lynch get over or not. And she's going on, she's having a kid anyways, so it's not even a valid thing to argue about anymore. Apparently, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is saying everyone in attendance at tomorrow's UFC show, of course, unless you're in the cage actually fighting, has to wear a mask. Dana White doesn't want to wear a mask and is saying that if he is forced to wear a mask, he will watch the show from a private room rather than actually be in the Apex Theater on the compound of the UFC Performance Institute. So he obviously isn't for wearing a mask. I personally have not worn a mask at all during this pandemic. I have followed restrictions, but I'm not for wearing a mask. If you want to wear one, if you're concerned about catching something, sure. Only around 60,000 people in Canada have the coronavirus right now. I say there's a pretty low chance that I'm going to catch something the few times that I leave my house. There's very few places that I go these days with the lockdown. In effect, Sam Lenz has a very good point and says XFL should have been only violent felons. I agree that if you had a league that was mostly criminals and maybe you had zero drug testing, I think that would grab a lot of people's attention. Charles Gilbert says only low IQ NPCs wear masks. Well, I don't care. I'm just for the right to wear them or not. I've heard, like in Tennessee and some other places, maybe not throughout Tennessee, but I've heard that at least at one point in Knoxville, you had to go into a grocery store, wear gloves and masks, because I heard Les Thatcher tell that story on his radio show. He's a wrestling legend. In Canada, at least where I am in Canada, they just make you put hand sanitizer on your hands when you walk into a grocery store. There's no mandatory, you have to wear a mask or gloves. But I believe in freedom, and you should have the right to protect yourself or not protect yourself. I honestly think this whole thing has been overblown. That's my opinion. But for the people that it is dangerous for, like my grandmother, who is almost 94 years old, she turns 94 in less than a month. Her retirement home is on lockdown. I have not seen her in person for about 60 days. I agree with that. I agree with those at-risk people. They should be on lockdown. I don't believe cancer doctors should be not working, for instance, like they are here in Ontario. I'm going to Quebec tomorrow, another province where I'm paying with my own money to have my cancer, small skin cancer patch removed because the Ontario healthcare system is not working. So I'm going to shut it down at this. My Road Warrior Animal shoot is on Patreon, as well as my shoot with Dan Severin from yesterday. I am interviewing Al Snow on Monday, and I'd highly suggest everyone follow the Hannibal TV on Instagram and on Twitter. Subscribe to the Great North Wrestling Podcast on iTunes. You can find the link in the description of this video. Sam Lentz says, God bless the Quebecois for helping me. Yeah, it is a private clinic, but thank God, like, it's either that or cut it out myself. So I'm going to have the professionals do it. Thanks a lot, guys.